Ifunanya's eyes was overflowing with tears as she held her newborn daughter for the first time. The cries of the child filled the small room where she had grown up, the same place that now felt choked with the weight of shame and confusion. She was only 20, still a young girl without anything, yet here she was, already a mother. Her own mother, Adaora, stood beside her, silent but determined.
Welcome to VC's True Life Stories and African Folk Tales. Pick up your popcorn, let's learn and enjoy this story together. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more interesting and educative videos. Thank you.
One night, while the family was celebrating Ifunanya's secondary school final exams results that came out perfectly well, some men rushed into their home and one of them slept with Ifunanya after taking her father's life and money. Her mother took her to the hospital the next day to do the necessary, but she later realized she was pregnant after 6 months of zero symptoms. Her whole life came crumbling in her face. Her father lost his life that same day, but she had to move on with life with the help of her mother. "Ifunanya, you'll be fine," Adaora whispered, stroking her daughter's hair. "You will raise her, and life will go on." But Ifunanya wasn't so sure. Life in the village was harsh, especially for a girl who was a victim of abuse and had fallen into the trap of an early pregnancy. She loved her daughter, Chisom, but she couldn't help but feel that her life had ended before it even began. Her friends were out there, in the city, living freely, chasing dreams, and here she was, tied to the village by her child. As the years passed, Ifunanya's restlessness grew even when she was doing some trade with her mother in the village market. She adored Chisom, who was now an energetic 8-year-old, but the quiet life of Umukoro was no longer enough for her. She wanted more than the fields, more than the market stalls, more than the village gossip. She wanted the life she had once dreamed of, the one she saw in movies and heard about from relatives living abroad. One morning, she made a decision that would change her life forever. "Mama," she said, sitting at the edge of the bed where her mother lay, "I want to go to Lagos." Adaora frowned. "Lagos? What about Chisom?" "Mama, I will come back for her once I'm settled. I promise. I just need to go, to find something better for both of us." Adaora hesitated, but she understood. She was once a young girl too, filled with the same hunger for something beyond the boundaries of their small village. And so, reluctantly, she agreed. Ifunanya packed her things and left for Lagos, leaving Chisom in the care of her grandmother. Lagos was everything Ifunanya had imagined, bustling with life, filled with opportunities, and drowning in noise. The constant hum of the city overwhelmed her senses, but it also ignited something within her. For the first time in her life, she felt like she was standing at the edge of possibility. But Lagos was also unforgiving. The dreams she had imagined as a girl didn't simply fall into her lap. She needed to work hard, harder than she had ever worked in her life. She was welcomed by her cousin, Amora, who had been living in Lagos for years. After settling down during the weekend, Amora took Ifunanya to a unisex salon on Monday where she began as an apprentice. Her first few months were tough, the hustle of Lagos life and the demands of the job exhausted her. Yet, she was determined. Every night, she would lay her head on her tin mattress, thinking of Chisom and the future she wanted to build for her daughter. The city hardened her, but it also filled her with a resolve she had never known. At the salon, Ifunanya quickly learned that success wasn't just about skill, it was about relationships. The customers came not only for haircuts or makeovers but for the conversations, the jokes, the attention. She studied the way her boss, Ngozi, handled clients, especially the wealthy men who came in for grooming. Ngozi was always elegant, always flirtatious but never crossing the line. Men like to feel special, Ngozi had told her one evening, as they locked up the salon. "You make them feel like kings, and they will reward you like one." Ifunanya took those words to heart. She became good at her job, not just because she could braid or cut hair, but because she learned how to make clients feel important. With time, she attracted her own loyal customers. Young men, old businessmen, and even a few celebrities started requesting her by name. She was making money and, for the first time, saving enough to send home to her mother and Chisom. As Ifunanya's training came to an end, she continued working with her boss for few months. She stayed in touch with her family. She spoke to her mother often, who updated her on Chisim's growth and life in the village. It was hard being apart from her daughter, but Ifunanya was focused on the bigger picture, building a future that neither she nor Chisim could have imagined in the village. Her family overseas also supported her journey. One of her cousins, Namdi, who lived in the US, sent her a large sum of money to help her start her own salon. With that money and the savings she had accumulated, Ifunanya took the bold step of opening her own shop. The grand opening was a success, and her salon quickly became one of the most talked about in Lagos. Ifunanya was now the CEO of her own business at 30, with several employees under her, and the attention of Lagos' most elite clients. With her success came attention, especially from men. Wealthy businessmen, popular musicians, and younger clients all noticed her confidence and beauty. Ifunanya, empowered by her achievements, began to flirt more openly. She loved the excitement of their admiration, the gifts they gave her, the nights out at the finest restaurants in the city. She knew these men were only temporary distractions. None of them would marry her, they were either already married or uninterested in commitment, but Ifunanya didn't mind. She was enjoying her newfound power. Despite the attention from her clients, there was one man she kept in the background, King. He was a kind man, intelligent, and deeply in love with her. But he wasn't successful like the others. He was a struggling graduate, still trying to find his footing in Lagos. He met Ifunanya in the bank, and since then, they became close friends and eventually lovers. He usually comes to stay at her apartment whenever he could, and she would take care of him, feeding him, clothing him, even giving him money when he needed it. To King, Ifunanya was everything he had ever dreamed of. But to Ifunanya, King was the man she would marry when she was ready, after she was done enjoying her life with the wealthy men who filled her days and nights. Ifunanya kept King a secret from her high society friends. She never talked about him at social events or with her wealthier clients. In fact, she never even let them know she had a boyfriend. As far as they knew, Ifunanya was a free, independent woman who enjoyed her life. The only people who knew the truth were her employees and family. Her employees, who saw how she treated King when he came around, began to notice the difference between the way she acted with him and the way she acted with her wealthy clients. Some of the workers felt sorry for King. They could see that he truly loved her, but they also knew that Ifunanya didn't value him the way he valued her. They often whispered among themselves, wondering why she treated him that way. But they never dared say anything to King. They knew better than to interfere in their boss's personal life. Ifunanya told King that Chisim, who had recently visited Lagos for a few weeks, was her younger sister. It was a lie she told to avoid uncomfortable questions about her past. King, trusting her completely, never doubted her story. He loved Ifunanya with all his heart and couldn't wait to marry her one day, but Ifunanya kept pushing the idea of marriage further into the future. As her flirting attitude with her clients grew more intense, she became increasingly ashamed of King. He didn't fit the image of success and glamour that she had built for herself. He was a reminder of her humble beginnings, a part of her life she wanted to forget, at least for now. Ifunanya's life in Lagos was a vast expression of luxury. Every week, she found herself in the company of wealthy businessmen, influencers, and even politicians. Her clients often took her to high-end parties, fashion shows, and dinners in the city's most exclusive spots. She was becoming a fixture in elite circles, a successful businesswoman whose beauty and charm were impossible to ignore. Ifunanya's salon continued to flourish, and with every new customer came new opportunities. She had become a noble woman, known not just for her business, but for her bold, carefree lifestyle. Men threw themselves at her, offering gifts, vacations, and promises of a life that she knew was temporary. But Ifunanya didn't mind. She enjoyed the thrill of it all, never committing, but never saying no to their advances either. Meanwhile, Kim remained in the background, blissfully unaware of Ifunanya's double life. He loved her more than anything and believed she was simply waiting for the right moment to settle down. Kim was still struggling to establish himself in Lagos. He had graduated with good grades but hadn't yet secured a stable job. Every time he visited Ifunanya, she welcomed him with open arms, feeding him, clothing him, and making him feel like he was part of her life. Kin often stayed at her apartment for days, wearing the clothes she bought him, eating the food she prepared, and living the life she had built. Yet, despite her care for him, Ifunanya never spoke about him to her clients or friends. She kept their relationship hidden, ashamed of the fact that he wasn't as successful or glamorous as the men who surrounded her. Though Ifunanya cared for Kin in her own way, the difference between them grew more noticeable. She was building an empire, while Kin was still trying to find his footing. The more successful she became, the more she felt disconnected from him. When her wealthy clients would flirt with her, buy her expensive gifts, or take her on extravagant outings, she couldn't help but compare them to Kin. At times, Ifunanya wondered if she was being fair to Kin. He loved her unconditionally, but she knew deep down that she didn't see him the same way. The attention and excitement she received from her clients made her question whether she could ever be content with a man like Kin, one who wasn't wealthy, powerful, or influential. Ifunanya's employees saw everything. They saw how she flirted with clients, how she accepted their gifts and attention, and how she treated Kin when he was around. Many of the staff felt sorry for Kin. They saw the love he had for her and knew that he had no idea about her flirtations or the secrets she was keeping from him. Some of the workers even considered telling Kin the truth. They knew it wasn't their place to interfere, but it hurt them to see someone so devoted being used. Yet, they remained silent, fearing Ifunanya's wrath if they ever dared to speak out. They watched as Kin came and went, unaware of the lies Ifunanya was weaving around him. Meanwhile, in the village, Chisholm was growing up fast. At 11 years old, she was beginning to ask more questions about her mother. "Why does Mama live in the city?" she asked her grandmother one evening. "Why can't I live with her?" Adanma sighed, knowing that one day Chisholm would need answers that Ifunanya wasn't ready to give. "Your mother is working hard, Chisholm," she said softly. "She's building a life for herself so she can give you a better future." But Chisholm wasn't satisfied with that answer. She had visited Lagos once before, and while she loved the city, she couldn't understand why her mother didn't want her there. She was old enough to sense that there was more to the story than what she had been told. Back in Lagos, Ifunanya's life of flirtation and glamour began to take a cost. She juggled her flirtations with clients, her hidden relationship with Kin, and the pressure of running a successful business. At times, she felt overwhelmed by the fake life she had created. She enjoyed the excitement of her double life but feared what would happen if the truth ever came out. One evening, after a particular luxury dinner with one of her wealthier clients, Ifunanya returned home feeling empty. The gifts, the attention, the excitement, it all felt hollow. She sat in her lavish apartment, staring at the expensive things around her, wondering if this was really the life she wanted. Then, there was Kin. He would never be able to give her the kind of lifestyle her clients did, but he loved her in a way no one else did. And yet, she couldn't bring herself to commit to him fully. Even though Kin was still in love with Ifunanya, he started to notice small things. She never introduced him to her friends, never invited him to events, and always seemed distant when they talked about their future. He brushed it off as her being busy with work, but a part of him began to wonder if there was more to her behavior. One day, as he sat in Ifunanya's salon, waiting for her to finish work, he overheard some of the employees whispering. Though he couldn't make out exactly what they were saying, he caught his name and a few words that made his heart sink. Used, secret, and rich clients. The words lingered in his mind, but he tried to shake them off. Ifunanya loved him, didn't she? Kin couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The whispers he overheard in the salon lingered in his mind, stirring doubts he had never allowed himself to consider. One evening, after Ifunanya returned home from another dinner with a client, Kin decided to confront her. "Ifunanya," he began cautiously, "I've been feeling like there's something you're not telling me. I know you've been busy with work, but sometimes, I feel like you're hiding parts of your life from me." Ifunanya, caught off guard, shifted uncomfortably. "Kin, what are you talking about? You know everything about me. I've told you I'm focused on the salon and building a future for us. Kin took a deep breath, not wanting to push too hard but needing answers. Then why haven't I met your friends? Why do you never talk about me with them? And why do I feel like I'm just the second option? Ifunanya hesitated, the weight of her lies pressing down on her. She didn't want to hurt Kin, but she also couldn't give him the truth. Kin, you're not a second option, she said, forcing a smile. I just don't mix my personal life with my business. You meet everyone when the time is right. Please, don't worry. But Kin couldn't shake the concern. Though he didn't have concrete evidence, he knew something wasn't right. And as much as he loved Ifunanya, the growing distance between them was undeniable. At the salon, the tension among the staff grew. The workers were torn between wanting to protect Kin from being used and their loyalty to Ifunanya. They saw how devoted Kin was to her, but they also knew about her flirtations with the wealthy clients who frequented the salon. Masoma, one of the senior staff members, had worked at the salon the longest and had seen Ifunanya rise to success. She had also seen how Kin treated Ifunanya with genuine love and care. So one afternoon, as Kin sat in the waiting area, Masoma glanced at him, her heart heavy. She wondered how much longer she could stay silent. Ifunanya is playing a dangerous game, Masoma whispered to her colleague, busy, as they watched Kin from across the room. One day, everything will come crashing down. And I'm not sure he'll ever forgive her. Busy sighed. We can't interfere. It's not our place. Ifunanya's personal life is her business. But what if he's being hurt? Masoma asked. What if he's just being used? Busy shook her head. Please, for now, let's stay out of it. Masoma nodded and continued with what she was doing. Ifunanya's flirtations with her wealthy clients continued, but recently, one of them had started to push for more. Obinna, a successful businessman who always visits her salon, had always been generous with his gifts and attention, but now, he was hinting at something more serious. You know, Ifunanya, Obinna said one evening after treating her to an extravagant dinner, a woman like you deserves the best. Why are you wasting your time on small boys who can't give you what you deserve? Ifunanya smiled, sipping her glass of wine. And what exactly do I deserve, Obinna? Obinna leaned in closer, his eyes locking with hers. You deserve to be with someone who can constantly upgrade you. Someone who can give you everything you want, money, connections, power. And I can do that for you. Though flattered by Obinna's offer, Ifunanya knew deep down that a man like him wasn't interested in anything long-term. He was married, after all, and though he enjoyed the thrill of their flirtations, he wasn't serious about committing to her. But his words made her think. What did she truly want? A life of luxury and endless possibilities. Or the quiet, stable love Kin offered her. She kept celebrating in her mind throughout the outing. One Saturday, Chisholm came to visit her mother again during the holidays. It had been a year since they last saw each other, and Chisholm was filled with excitement about seeing the city and spending time with her big sister, as she had been told to call Ifunanya. The visit, however, stirred up emotions Ifunanya wasn't ready to face. Chisholm was a reminder of her past, a life she had tried to bury beneath the glamour of Lagos. The child's presence forced her to confront the reality that she had left behind. Seeing Chisholm's wide-eyed wonder at the city made Ifunanya question whether she was living the life she had once dreamed of. One evening, as they sat together in the living room, Chisholm turned to her mother with a serious expression. Big sister, she began hesitantly, why don't you ever come to the village? Grandma says you're always busy. Don't you miss home? Ifunanya forced a smile, her heart heavy. I'm building something here, Chisholm. A better life for both of us. I'll come home when the time is right. But Chisholm wasn't convinced. I miss you. I don't want you to forget about me. Ifunanya felt a pang of guilt. She had worked so hard to escape her past that she hadn't realized how much she was distancing herself from her daughter. But now, faced with Chisholm's innocent questions, she wondered if she was sacrificing the most important relationships in her life for a fleeting dream. As Chisholm continued to stay with her mother, Kin found himself more distant from Ifunanya than ever. Her flirtations with other men were becoming more obvious, and though she still treated him with kindness when they were together, Kin couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that he was being kept in the shadows. One evening, after another long day of searching for job opportunities, Kin returned to Ifunanya's apartment to find her entertaining one of her wealthy clients. Though the man left shortly after Kin arrived, the encounter left him feeling worried. Who was that? Kin asked casually, though his tone betrayed his frustration. Oh, just a client, Ifunanya replied nonchalantly. He's a businessman who comes to the salon often. Kin's patience was wearing thin. Ifunanya, I feel like I don't know anything about your life anymore. You never introduce me to your friends or clients. It's like I'm a secret. Ifunanya sighed, growing irritated. Kin, we've talked about this. I'm just focusing on my business right now. I can't mix my personal life with work. But Kin wasn't satisfied with that answer anymore. I love you, Ifunanya. But sometimes, I wonder if you even want a future with me. Ifunanya remained silent, unsure of how to respond. She knew she was stringing Kin along, keeping him in the background while she enjoyed the attention and wealth that came with her flirtations. Ifunanya sat in silence, staring at Kin as his words echoed in her mind. For the first time, she truly saw the pain in his eyes, the devotion, the vulnerability. He loved her deeply, but she knew she had taken advantage of that love, keeping him as a backup plan while she indulged in the glamour of Lagos life. That night, after Kin left, Ifunanya lay awake, the weight of her choices heavy on her chest. Chisholm's innocent questions about home, Kin's frustration, and the fleeting excitement of the wealthy men in her life, everything was catching up to her. She had built an empire, but at what cost? The next day, she decided to take a break from the salon and spend time with Chisholm. They visited parks, ate at restaurants, and wandered through the bustling streets of Lagos. Watching her daughter's wonder and joy, Ifunanya began to feel something she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years: regret. She had left Chisholm behind in pursuit of a life that, in the end, felt empty. Later that evening, as they sat together on the balcony of her apartment, Chisholm turned to her mother with a simple question: Mama, are you happy? Ifunanya's heart sank. Of course, Chisholm. Why do you ask? Chisholm looked down at her feet, swinging them gently. You seem happy when we're out, but sometimes when you're alone, you look sad. For the first time in years, Ifunanya let her guard down. Tears filled her eyes as she pulled Chisholm into her arms. I've made some mistakes, my love, she whispered, stroking her daughter's hair. But I'm going to make it right. The following week, Ifunanya sat down with Kin. She invited him to her apartment, her heart pounding with uncertainty. When he arrived, she could see the weariness in his eyes, the weight of the doubt he had been carrying. Kin, she began, her voice soft but firm, I've been selfish. I've kept you in the shadows because I was afraid. Afraid of what people would think, afraid of losing the life I thought I wanted. But the truth is, I don't deserve you. Kin looked at her, confused. What are you saying, Ifunanya? I'm saying that I've been wrong, she said, tears welling up. I've been chasing after things that don't matter, and I've hurt the people I love the most. I'm sorry, Kin. I'm sorry for everything. Kin, who had always been patient and understanding, reached out and took her hand. Ifunanya, I love you. I've always loved you. But I need to know if you want a future with me or if I've just been someone to fall back on. Ifunanya wiped her tears, looking into his eyes with newfound clarity. I want a future with you, Kin. I've been afraid to admit it because I thought I needed to prove something to the world. But the truth is, I don't want to lose you. Kin pulled her into a tight hug, and for the first time in a long while, Ifunanya felt a deep sense of peace. She decided to spill everything to Kin. He told her about his daughter and how she came into her life. Kin had reasons to be angry, but he had more reasons to console Ifunanya. He assured her that everything is fine. He also told her that she is elegant and worthy already and there is no need seeking validation from her wealthy clients. They decided to start all over again, building their relationship on true love and sincerity. In the following weeks, Ifunanya made changes in her life. She distanced herself from the wealthy men who had once occupied her time and focused on her relationship with kin and running her salon with integrity. She no longer felt the need to impress anyone or hide her true self. She introduced kin to her close friends, proudly standing by his side as they worked on building a life together. Ifunanya also reconnected with her roots. She began visiting her village more frequently, spending time with her mother and Chisholm, who was growing into a strong, intelligent young lady. The bond between mother and daughter deepened, and Ifunanya realized that the life she had been searching for wasn't in the city's luxury but in the love she had at home. Few months later, Ifunanya's salon remained one of the most successful in Lagos, but now, it was run with a new sense of purpose. She had become a mentor to young women from her village, helping them build careers and find their own paths without sacrificing their values. She had found balance between ambition and love, between the city and her roots. Ifunanya and kin got married in a quiet, heartfelt ceremony in her village, surrounded by family and friends. Together, they built a future based on trust, love, and the knowledge that true happiness didn't come from wealth or status, but from the people who stood by your side through it all. As Ifunanya looked out at the life she had created, her family, her business, her daughter, and her husband, she knew that, finally, she had found everything she needed. Was everything worth it? Like and subscribe for more interesting and educative videos like this. Thank you.